Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us from the USA is Joelle Tegwen. Did I pronounce your name correctly there, Joelle?
Yes.
All right. So Joelle helps teams build products that customers love in a sustainable way and with high quality. She creates environments that foster high-performing teams, improving their interactions. Her background in science and passion for cognitive science complement her work. Joelle's non-linear 15-year career, which we will explore during this week, in software development has provided her with diverse perspectives. So, Joelle, of course, first of all, welcome and thank you for being here and sharing your story with us. Let's start first with knowing a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
So I started my IT career as a developer, working mostly on smaller teams, and so I came up through the ranks, and I then got a manager position. And when I was there, I really fell in love with the people side of the problems. And so when they did a downsizing, I really stepped back and I said, what do I want to do with my career? Like, I've got this opportunity to rethink. And so I went and got my Scrum Master certification, and I started becoming a Scrum Master. And since then, I have been a manager a few more times. Mostly I spend my time, though, as an Agile coach. But I am a consultant, so occasionally I end up Scrum Mastering again also.
Absolutely. So, of course, during that career, developer, manager, then learning about Scrum Master and that role within our industry, I'm sure you have a lot of stories to share. But today's Fail Monday here on the podcast, so we'll dive into one of those tough, difficult situations. Of course, we do that because we want to learn, right? To take lessons and so that others may benefit from our own experience. So share that with us, Joelle, a story of a difficult moment that you had as a Scrum Master. And of course, we'll dive into the details later, but and the takeaways later. But share with us that story first, Joelle.
So this was one of the times when I was doing coaching, but I was coaching / Scrum Master. I was at a small startup here in the cities, and there were actually several startups that had merged over the course of like a few years. It was one of those big merger and acquisition sprees. And I was brought in by VP who really wanted to make a lot of change. And shortly after I started, he left, and they brought in a more conservative VP. And I didn't change my tactics. I didn't restart. And so I kept trying to keep up that pace of change and to really innovate in what they were doing. And instead of trying to help them get to a steady state and aligning to where the new leadership wanted to go, I just kept charging down that same path. And and I wasn't reading the signals when I was being told that that what I was doing wasn't wasn't what they wanted.
So when you
And
go back to that story and you think about the what you were trying to do and then the kind of signals or feedback that you were getting, what were some of those things that, okay, so you were kind of following from the same dynamic that you had before, the same momentum, but then the feedback started coming. How did that happen in practice?
it would be things like, I'm not so sure what I think of that. Or I've always liked doing it this way. Or, and sometimes it was, sometimes it was actually being told no. But my direct manager was okay with it. And so I was listening to my direct manager, not to the people above her. But it was sometimes just a subtle, like, I don't think so. And then the other thing that I noticed happen was that one-on-ones would get canceled a lot with the more upper leadership.
So when you think back to that story, I mean, you were, of course, probably motivated and had a goal in mind and wanted to get things moving. Then the feedback started coming. But if you had the opportunity to go back and kind of relive that story again, what would you do differently if that happened today, Joelle?
So one of the things I learned from that is whenever you get a new person above you up the chain, it's like your job starts over again. You have to go back and discover who they are and what motivates them and what they're trying to accomplish to make sure that you're well aligned to them. You have to, there's that book, The First 90 Days. You have to go back through those first 90 days all over again because your job has changed. The other thing that I've learned is that when you're a change agent, you really need to be aware of what's going on around you and how well people are receptive to your change. Because they won't, like if you're pushing too hard, too fast, you're just going to get more resistance. You're not actually helping them become better or improving what they're doing. You're actually a problem in the organization at that point.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, right? Because resistance is a reaction to something. It doesn't exist without anything else going against it, right? So when you think about resistance, specifically in the context of this new leadership coming in and them bringing also some of that resistance, how would you go about it? Like if you think about those first 90 days that you were describing, what would be the specific things you would do today to kind of assess, kind of take a new read of what is the level where we are at? Like how would you make that practical today?
So I was thinking of, and when I was thinking about it at the time, I was like, let me show you all these wonderful things I can do instead of interviewing him, this new VP, saying, what are your priorities? How are you seeing this situation? What are the things that you want to focus on? And where is the change that you want to see? And then take that and relook at what I was doing in terms of those things, because the direction I was going was not aligned to the direction where he was brought in to do things, because I was brought in by somebody who was driving hard to make change a certain way. And the new one was not going that direction at all. If I had been doing that interviewing process, I would have noticed the differences between how those things were going, where those things were going.
And that reminds me of this aspect when we think about the change process and also how we relate to leaders around us. That reminds me of the aspect that it's always through people that change happens, right? Like we may document all of the new processes, we may put into paper or usually PowerPoints all of this change timeline and activities, but it is through people that that change actually happens, because people need to act a different way. And when it comes to leadership, what I very often think is that they are the ones setting the example. So when we feel, or at least this is my perspective, when we feel resistance from leadership, we need to understand what are their goals. How can we align on that, and then move on from there, right? Like, we might still be working on quote unquote an agile adoption or a continuous improvement or whatever that might be, or like installing continuous integration and delivery processes, whatever that may be. But we need to align so that we are all, for lack of a better word, trying to enact the same change, right?
Yes, and you can. And how, also, like, how you talk about what you're doing matters too. So you can be trying to do like continuous improvement or continuous integration, but also like the framework that happens in makes a really big difference. Like, why are we doing this thing? Not just how are we doing this thing.
Yeah, and the why always needs to come from leadership, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that story, Joelle.
You're welcome. Thank you, Vasco.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into no estimates, we got the pioneers of no estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.